Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Tone Vase. I got a special guest for you today. It's, of course, no other than Doug Polk. Go ahead and say hi, Doug. And right before you do that, just so you guys know, Doug Polk, there's a reason why he has more YouTube followers than me, because he uses really good equipment and puts in a lot of work into every episode. And his camera is actually too high-end for my stream through Zoom. So welcome, Doug.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's something weird with the settings here because I just finished recording a video and it's all pixelated. So I don't know what happened, or I mean, I've used Zoom for meetings, but not for calls before. So hopefully it's at least okay for the viewers at home. But yeah, I appreciate having me on. We got plenty to talk about as always. Lots of stuff happening. Yeah, let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So we did that last interview about a month and a half ago. The price of Bitcoin was just under 10,000. I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, it was around the $9,500 area. I'm gonna do screen share. We'll take a look at how I see the outlook for Bitcoin, like what it did during that 1.5 months. And what my outlook is, like I normally do. And then let's have a chat. I'm curious what your current portfolio looks like of altcoins and Bitcoin. And what are you eyeing in the future? Maybe we can talk about some of those coins. Maybe I can take a look at some of the coins. Hopefully you are a slightly bigger believer in technical analysis. And I can take a look at maybe some of the technical outlook using TA on some of the coins in your portfolio. How does that sound?
It sounds good, man. We can take a look at everything here. Let's do it.
All right. Let me just jump on screen share. And here we go. As usual, my website, tonevase.com. Here is my travel schedule over the next month or two. Just going to refresh that one more time. Atlanta coming up on July 7th. Looks like people are interested. And I will be in Vegas, hopefully. Actually, the date may change. I may move that up by a weekend. That's why you can't register for this yet. So hopefully maybe Doug will be around and I'll run into him. If you want to learn trading, the educational section, learn trading. And if you guys like my work and want to support my work, please check out the affiliate section. I've been so meaning to do an Amazon affiliate, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Tomorrow I will be driving into Connecticut and I will be live doing this same very show at a meetup in New Haven, Connecticut. So please check this out. And the link should be in the video description. And please RSVP. All right.
By the way, the new site looks good, man. You updated it, right?
Oh yeah. Actually, it wasn't cheap either. I'm actually I learned that I'm not a very good web developer.
Yeah, no, the last one looked straight out of 1998.
I sort of did that on purpose. I really like those old sites. Like here's my last site. I was gonna go to it for a second. I am gonna decommission this completely, but a lot of my old blog posts are here. And I did an interview with Jeff Berwick a while back, but the reason I bring this up is earlier today I interviewed Saifedean. Oh, by the way, Doug, you have to read the Bitcoin Standard.
I have to? Why is that?
It's an awesome book about economics and Bitcoin in general.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
The audio version, I don't read anything, but I did listen to the audio in full.
So what you're saying is you have to read this, but don't actually read it.
Well, you can listen to the audio. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah,
you're still absorbing the content. But I was driving to Canada and stuff, so it was perfect. I read the book. And for those that are interested in the history of the Fed, the real history of the Fed, not the creature from Jekyll Island history of the Fed, please check out my website and look for just put in Fed into the search on Liberty Life Trail. But I put this link in that interview with Saifedean, and all of these links are here to some very good posts. Anyway, let's jump onto the price of Bitcoin. Oh man, we dropped a little bit in the last few hours. That's not good. Okay, so this is the weekly outlook for Bitcoin, this is what I usually go to. I don't know if Doug has watched a lot of these shows, so stick around. Let me go through this in a little bit more detail. There's a couple of things going on here. So when Bitcoin bounced off of $6,000, now this was a mixed area from a technical perspective. Let me drop other indicators. In that, I'm a believer that whenever the price comes back down to the vicinity of the prior price, there's a high probability that it's going to go lower in the near future. What made this particular point a little bit more complicated is that the daily low came in at 6,000 back in February. In April, when we came down into the vicinity of 6,000, the daily low only came in at 64, let's say 6,400. So it came up about $500 off because this actually went down to 59. The closing low, however, was lower on two weeks in a row. So this was a bit of a mixed bag. So technically, this was a higher daily a higher daily low, a lower weekly close, a lower daily close, but it was bouncing off of the 50-week moving average. Now, this monster move came as a bit of a surprise because it was mostly a giant short squeeze that, a lot of people, including myself, didn't see coming at all, which is how a lot of traders, got caught in that move. I remember it happening. I was watching it live. No one can give an explanation as to why the price of Bitcoin is going up. And then it was determined there was just a short squeeze.
And do you remember some of the positions that got liquidated during that? What's that Twitter account that tweets these positions out? But there were some massive positions that were liquidated during that run.
Yes, that's like the BitMax like wrecked Twitter handle probably. Yeah, so the one thing on those, right? Like people have to realize that because BitMax is so high leveraged, like when you see a position like that liquidated, that could have been somebody's stop loss, and that person could have had the opposite position on a different contract, right? So BitMax gives you futures contracts, and I do this with options all the time. Like all I have is a measly retirement account, right? I mean, how much can there possibly be in my retirement account? Because the government only allows you to put $7,000 into the account, right? So it can't be that big at all, right? I worked on Wall Street for 9 years.
In which retirement account?
Like in your 401k.
Okay, 401k. Because SEP IRA is 50K plus 1K per year. So if you're self-employed and you file through that, you can actually put away 50K plus 1K every year.
Oh, interesting. You put like 51 away every year?
Well, it's like 50, 51, 52, 53, etc.
Okay. You put 50 up front and then 1,000 a year.
No, it's 50 each year. And then it also increases by 1K every year. And that's SEP IRA, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I wasn't familiar with that. I'm still. I should look into that.
It's also calculated a little bit differently. Yeah, you should look into SEP IRA versus like Roth or 401k or everything else. But it's also like everything is pre-tax, and you're taxed once you convert it into a different IRA type account or withdraw it or whatever. So it's like the tax is on the end rather than like a discount before. Or I'm not actually totally sure the way the 401k setup works because I've just been using SEP for so long.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I converted my 401k into an IRA, but I have not yet, which means I can self-direct it and trade in it, but I have not yet converted to a Roth IRA, in which case I would take that sum of money. I would pay all the taxes on that sum of money, but then all of my gains are tax-free for the rest of my life. Yeah. I just can't withdraw it for a bunch of years. That's actually what I've been meaning to do once I find a little bit of time. So, but in that account, I trade options and I trade a lot of option spreads. So even though there's not that much money in it, I can actually structure some spreads where I'm controlling millions of dollars of stock. It's a spread. So if someone can, like, if you're going to buy a bunch of, let's say, July futures, you can then sell a bunch of August futures, and you can do that with massive leverage and try to profit from the spread. So I would be So I wouldn't feel all that bad for the person that got liquidated because you don't know if he was hedged or not. If he wasn't hedged, then he's in trouble.
Yeah. So and you also don't know how much he was hedged. Like you don't know if he was mainly hedged or if he had a small one. You really just don't know. I think it's safe to say he probably had a bad day. I think that's probably pretty safe to say.
Yeah, I agree with that.
How much we don't really know. And I got a funny story here. So do you want to know how hard I go with Bitcoin here, Tone? Not only do I have a lot of my net worth in Bitcoin, but in my IRA, I sold a bunch of stuff and turned it all into Riot Gaming. So I'm essentially all in on my retirement account on Riot, not Riot Games, Riot blockchain. I don't know why I said gaming.
I'm not familiar with Riot blockchain. Can you educate me on that? What is that?
Yeah, sure. So a few of my buddies actually got involved with them. So that's one of the main reasons that I believe in it, because I believe in the people that are working with it. But they have a large mining setup that they've been working on for the last several months. I think it's going to be functional sometime either in the near future or is now. They had a press release recently. But they're basically like doing a lot of mining, and they're also investing in various blockchain startups and companies. Generally speaking, companies and not ICOs. And I know you're a big ICO fan.
So this is a real company traded on the stock market, but they're kind of like a VC.
Right. Yeah. Well, they do a mixture of things. I forget the exact. They have a piece of some bigger company that I really should remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's funny. And if you look at a graph of Riot and you compare it to the price of Bitcoin,
can we check that out? Can I pull that up? They're publicly traded.
Publicly traded, yeah. They're on NASDAQ.
Excellent. Let's take a look because I think this is a terrible idea. So let me check this out. we can get back to Bitcoin after. That's it. Bitcoin ain't going anywhere.
Well, it's actually interesting, Tone, because their stock price mirrors Bitcoin's price movement almost identically. So in some ways, for a lot of people, I feel like it's been a way for people to try if they wanted to invest in Bitcoin through a company. I feel like a lot of people are doing that, whether they should be or not is totally up for debate. But I mean, the main reason that I've invested in it is because, and by the way, this is not financial advice. I don't want to seem like, hey guys, like put all your retirement money into Riot stock. That's definitely not what I'm advocating for. I just know the people and I believe in them, and they're good, smart, hardworking guys. So that's really why I believe in them long run.
All right, and they are a US NASDAQ. Okay. Well, it's certainly has a much higher beta to Bitcoin because Bitcoin has not yet fallen. What do we got here? From 40, it hit 45, and it's down below 7. So that's a bigger percentage fall than Bitcoin. It also had a bigger percentage rise than Bitcoin. Yeah, it definitely has a very high beta to Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I saw a MSNBC video. They basically like put a hit piece out on Riot. I think I talked about it at some point on my channel somewhere along the way. But basically they did this video and it's like, these guys are running a company, and it just like shows them in like dark and mysterious ways. I'm like, what the fuck? I know those guys. It's like they're trying to be like, these guys are evil scammers just trying to like put blockchain in the name and scam everybody. And I'm like, it's weird when you see mainstream media, and I hate getting into that whole thing because that's its own can of worms, but it's funny just seeing like a video put out on people that you know, and you know that they're, I don't know, it's weird, man. It's just trippy.
Oh yeah, no, that's what people usually say that about me. Like, wait, I thought he was my friend. Why is he talking shit about my company?
Yeah.
I'm on the opposite end of that. I just want to point out to my viewers that the random number generator that tends to stick numbers on top of my candles gave me a nice fat red arrow right at the very top. Well, the highest opening anyway, right there. So that gave you a nice indication to be careful.
What about under the 7? Go to the left a little bit.
Yep.
See that 7?
This one.
So that says it was going down as well.
That's another red arrow. I mean, like, it doesn't automatically mean we're going down. It just means you really want to be paying extra attention to going down. Actually, this is 2 red arrows. from the C13 and from the S13. And these are the arrows under the candle. They correspond to something slightly different. There was also one here that didn't do anything to it. All of these arrows come from the same principle. So let me explain what that means, basically. Since you're not familiar with this form of technical analysis, actually a few people are. I kind of introduced, I mean, I didn't create this. It's been around since the 80s. I somewhat introduced it to the crypto space. No one really used it publicly before myself. But basically, it kind of says that a move only has so much momentum in it. And if you look at this run up, you have these green numbers on top of the candles, and the green numbers only go up to a number 9. This thing kind of says, hey, around 9 days of upside, there could be some break in the bullish action. And it works the same the other way around. And in this case, it was exactly 9 candles. The 9th candle gave you a bit of a break. Now, what I usually say to people is, hey, when you get one of these 9s, it's very likely you get a 1 to 4 candle correction, and then you'll probably resume the upside, but not always. In this case, you did not resume the upside. You started the countdown to the downside. It got broken. It eventually got to a red 9. On a red 9, again, I tend to look for a 1 to 4 candle correction. If I don't get that correction, I now look for continuation in a price drop, looking for yet another 9, or after you get a 9, the numbers on the bottom of the candles start to tick down, and these numbers end on a 13. Now, the reason why you have 1, 2, and 3 different 13s is because there's 3 different math formulas, and different traders like to use different math formula. So what I do is I display the 1 to 12 of the most common math formula, which is the S13, but I show you all 3 on a chart, so traders that like to trade one over the other. When you have multiple arrows on the same candle, that is a high probability of a reversal in price, which happened, but then eventually it got rejected. So if we look at the current situation, we're kind of stuck along the bottom. Not much is really going on, but I will say it is trending to the downside, but so is Bitcoin. I'm also going to glance at the weekly chart. And the weekly chart, if I zoom out a little bit, the weekly chart did not do as good of a job helping you time the very top. And the weekly chart is kind of flat. I would say that in the world of Bitcoin, I know you probably know those guys. I think like I am invested heavily into Bitcoin, so I really would never consider investing in any actual company working in the blockchain space. But if you are familiar with the company and you did your research, then clearly you think that the return of the company would be better. I still think the return of Bitcoin itself should be better than any company other than maybe like a chip manufacturer. They seem to be doing amazingly well. Like mining manufacturer or something like that, that's probably a decent stock. But I would not, I personally would not invest in a VC. I just don't think they beat the S&P 500. Forget Bitcoin. I don't think they can beat the S&P 500 on a 5-year basis.
Well, it's a very broad thing to say I wouldn't invest in a company, in the blockchain space, because they're all very different. What if there's innovative mining solutions or innovative, ways to mine, or whatever third-party company? I mean, I'm sure owning part of Trezor would be pretty nice right about now if that was a thing. I guess my only real point that I would make here is that you want to try and invest in things that you believe in, but you also do want to diversify in some ways. I'm more of a believer in Bitcoin, obviously, than this company working in the blockchain space. So I have my investments proportional to that. I'm more invested in Bitcoin than I am, for example, in Riot. But I think it's fine to invest in companies that you like what they're doing, or you believe in the long-term direction they're headed, given their value.
Yeah, no, and I have no problem with that. I always said that if it wasn't for Bitcoin, I would have my money in the S&P 500. But I mean, maybe not this week, maybe next week. It's been kind of going down, but I'm keeping an eye on that one as well. All right, so we took a look at that. Let's get back to Bitcoin for a minute here. So here's the weekly chart. This was a bit unexpected. It did bounce off of the 50-week moving average. There was some potential, signs. To me, this was a little bit unexpected, and we reversed right under $10,000. I'm actually not surprised. That happens often, that the price reverses just before a big round number. It also happens on the flip side when the price dips to a nice round number. I mean, the very top came very close to around $20,000 number. And I remember the $3,000 top came in perfectly, just under 3,000. The $5,000 top did the same thing, came in just a smidge under 5,000, fell just to exactly 3,000, just under 3,000, the same exact area where we had the prior top. And because of that, because we never fell back to the $5,000 area after reaching the $5,000 top, that is why I remain very confident that we will test that $5,000 area. And when we were bouncing up to 10,000, I was expecting a reversal any moment. And my target, my very first target, was 5,000 and just under that. And it remains just under that. We happen to get rejected off of the 30-week moving average. And I continue to point back to the 2014 time period when we had also a monster up move right here, where Bitcoin went up big after the break of this downward trend line. It went big. It went up into the 30-week moving average. It then rode the 30-week moving average down until it met the death cross where the 30 went below the 50, and then all hell kind of broke loose and we fell all the way down. So what I've been saying for the last month or two is that we are following the same path, except that the upswing that we had from 6,000 to 10,000 was actually smaller by percentage than the current swing, than the 2014 swing. And we went down and got rejected from this area of the 30-week moving average a lot faster. We also got to this low, which I consider, it's hard to say which low this is. This is probably that $6,000 low equivalent back then. And we were falling slower back then. We're falling faster now. And also the top in Bitcoin in 2014 weekly came in November. Ours came in December. So they had about a month head start. So which is why the timeline isn't really matching very well, because we have been falling very fast the last 3 to 4 weeks. We have not had a chance for our 30-week moving average to start going down quickly. And that's why I believe we already had this price breakdown and maybe even this price breakdown. And what I am looking for in comparison to the 2014 bear market, and it's not like, it may feel like I'm comparing Bitcoin to Bitcoin, but I'm just comparing the psychology of an asset that is, purging its overpriced action. Well, when an asset gets out of control to the upside, the price gets into a bubble, the price then bursts and it falls, and it tends to fall in a similar manner every time across all assets. It just by chance that it so happens that like the Bitcoin crash of 2014 is like very, very eerie similar to the Bitcoin crash today. I would love to use gold as a comparison from the 2011 bubble. I would love to use oil as a comparison from the 2009 bubble. I would love to use the NASDAQ or Apple stock maybe as a comparison, or Microsoft stock or something as a comparison with using the the .com bubble. But it's also easier for me to look at one chart, and Bitcoin just makes it really, really easy to compare. So I am expecting this final drop where Bitcoin fell when it hit the moving average back in 2014, the 30-week moving average. It took place at about $650. The bottom over here in late September, came in at a low of 275 and a close of 325. So that was approximately a 50% correction from the rejection of the 30-week moving average through the death cross and lower. Now, I am expecting pretty much the same thing, and that's why I am still looking for a rebound from $5,000, which would be a 50% correction from the rejection of the 30-week moving average. The 30-week moving average has started falling sharply because we are now, as of this week, we are only using the last two candles of the bull market. So in 2 weeks, both of the top candles will be gone. And so the 30-week moving average should cross the 50-week moving average in about 4 or 5 weeks, because it's going to accelerate down really, really quickly. In which case, what am I looking for? I am looking for a bounce off of $5,000 and probably somewhat of a strong rebound into the maybe as high as 7,000. I'm looking for a rebound into the moving average crossover. So I've been showing this lately. Do I still have my presentation, or did I kind of close that? Damn, I might have closed it. Oh, well. So I am expecting a move back up into the death cross of the purple line and blue line on a weekly chart. Also keep in mind this triangle. We broke out of this triangle, and I normally didn't want to see that. I was hoping Bitcoin would, go back up to about 7.5 and then drop down to 5 after. So I think the price may be a little overextended, but I can see one more panic cycle. Here's the daily chart. The daily chart has not given me any of my nines to the downside, and it looks like the price is flipping. We are back down to 6,100. A new candle is going to form in about 20 minutes, and we're getting very close to a new closing low. We have not yet had a daily close below 6,000, but I am expecting that sometime this week. I mean, this was not a very strong bounce. If I look back on a daily chart and I take out some of the noise here, what I want to point people's attention to is that I became a full bear in this market somewhere around the time when I did the Venzen video the second week of January, because we were in Thailand. I had just got caught in this bull trap a little bit. You can go back to these videos and see what I've said. And somewhere around this area, Venzen and I in Thailand in the middle of the month of January, we were talking how we were both scared that Bitcoin can go as low as $2,000 or lower, and we were both kind of scared on that. And this descending triangle right here, this red guy, these 3 points, you should be able to see them, that took place. It was the same thing as that weekly triangle. It broke down earlier than expected. I was really looking forward to one more bounce back to the $15,000 area, and then the breakdown of the triangle at 13,000. The target on that was a $7,000 drop down to about 6K. That happened over the next month, In doing so, it made another triangle. You can see this red triangle with the 3 dots. This is when people kept telling me that it's stabilizing at 10,000. And I said, that's ridiculous. There's no such thing as stabilizing on the way down. It just creates a weaker and weaker floor that you can bounce off of. You can't bounce off of it too many times and then it breaks. And we bounced really strong off of 6,000. I was optimistic that we can go back to 20K, but then we got rejected in this area. Now, this is the depth cross that I was talking about using the weekly chart. Once the top area gets removed from the moving average, which is the purple, in this case, it's 128-day moving average. Once this moving average started to fall quickly, the price was rallying into this depth cross, which is
Tone.
Yep.
Tone. Can we do something I could be involved in?
All right, my bad. All right, let's.
I don't know. I mean, like,
I got a little. You're right.
It's like Japanese to me, man. Like I can't speak the language, so it's kind of tough to jump in there.
All right, let me.
So let me kick off with talking about something here real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so I want to start off with saying, because there's a lot of people that are confused, but like a true gambling man of my word, I have already paid Tone the money, and although we bet in USD, I've paid him in Bitcoin. I gave him his choice. He decided he didn't want any shitcoin, so he got some Bitcoin. I do want to say, good game, Tone. Well played. You predicted it. You were accurate, and it did fall under 6K. But I have to say, in my heart, I'm a Bitcoin bull, Tone. I'm a Bitcoin bull, and we're coming back.
I know. And in my heart, I really wanted to lose this bet. Like when we made the bet. All right, let me stop screen share. Right. So when we made the bet, right. So I changed a couple of terms. So one of the terms that I changed is, making it a fiat amount and not a bet of 1 Bitcoin. And the other parameter I changed was the timeline. Well, actually, you didn't give a timeline. I gave a timeline. Otherwise, I never would have had to pay you because technically I would have never lost. But now there's no way Bitcoin was going to fall below 6,000 next year. It was either going to fall below 6,000 this year or it was never going to do it. The reason why I gave myself an extra year of time is because I was cheap and I wanted to pay you the least amount of Bitcoin, right? Because I would have had an entire year of Bitcoin appreciation to the upside. And because I have the Bitcoin in cold storage, I'm like, man, it'll feel really good to pay Dark Polk 0.1 Bitcoin because 1 Bitcoin is worth $100,000, right?
True. But we bet in USD, so it's kind of a moot point. I mean, like, yeah, you're not getting.
For me, it wasn't though. For me, because I have no USD, right?
But it doesn't matter what you have. If the bet is in USD, then what the USD price change is what matters. I mean, if Bitcoin's 100K and you owe me 10K, you send me 0.1 Bitcoin, you're still sending me 10,000 USD. You could think about it however you want to think about it, but the bet's in USD. So it doesn't really change. The only thing that changes is how much USD is printed, which every year there's more printed. So it's probably going to be worth less, but
it's not going to be worth that much less.
It's not going to be worth that much less. Yeah.
No, yeah. From that point of view, true. But like I live and think in Bitcoin, right? To me, it's like how many Bitcoins can I make this month, right? Well, like when I teach my workshops, I charge in Bitcoin, which kind of sucks because now, at the like 5 months ago, like 1 or 2 people attending my workshop pays for all my expenses. Now it's like 5 to 6 people attending my workshop pays for all my expenses. So I'm like, shit, like if I don't get like 5 or 6 people into my workshop, I'm not actually making any money at all. Because you're
doing it for the love of the game.
Yeah, definitely. Now I do want to play cards with you one day. Maybe we can live stream that. Maybe you can win some of that back.
We could live stream it, but you know what? Here's the funny thing, Toad. Poker is like TA in some ways, in that the expert can lose. I mean, if we played poker and your strategy was just go all in every time, I could only beat you so much. I mean, I would win over time on average, but you'd have a fighting 40% chance every hand, or 40. Well,
Right. No. I mean, I'm not that stupid. I know how to play the game. Now,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you and I played, let's say, once a week for like a few months, for a year, yeah, you will probably win 90% of those days. But on any given night, with my non-professional poker playing skills, because I have played in the past, I played all the time back in the day. Hey, on any given night, cards have a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that's actually like, I think what makes poker a much better game than a game like chess. Not to say that chess isn't a great game, it is. But from a gambling perspective, no one wants to play a game of money when they'll never win, right? That would be a shitty game to play against experts that you never win. But poker's got just enough like luck and variance involved that people who don't really play much poker win shit all the time. It happens all. Tone, you could win the main event. Actually, you know what you could do? You could take your fresh $10,000 that you just won, and you could head down to Vegas and play the main event.
I missed it. I missed it already. I think it already started, right?
No, it starts in a week, man.
Oh man.
Oh, no. You were trying to bail, but it starts in a week.
You know what? Maybe next year. Maybe next year. I'm not gonna make it out there this year, but no, but it's crazy. Like the minute it's
wait, hold on. You're coming in August.
Yeah.
So you are gonna make it to Vegas. You're just not gonna make it here for the
I'll
World
make it
Series.
to Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll have the patience for a tournament that big. Like here's my problem in poker, man. Like I wasn't a very patient player. Like for example, like the best, my ability to play poker best is when, let's say, I'm not the big stack. Like I'm a terrible player off of the big stack. So if I'm in a one-on-one game and the other guy has a little bit more chips than me, like maybe 20-30% more chips than me, I am very focused and very determined, and I do very, very well. Once I have, 50% more chips in a one-on-one, I'm fine. But if I have, 20% more chips and there is like 5 people at the table and I have 20% more than the next highest, I've learned that I'm a very bad player. I tend to, play very loose, and it doesn't do well at all.
Yeah, so there's this thing that happens in poker where when you win a lot of pots and you have a bunch of chips, where you feel like you're the table captain, and it's your job as the captain to like get in there and like play some hands and do some stuff, but you don't have to. But it's like a psychological effect. I got all this money. I gotta do some stuff with this money, Tone. I got all this money. Look at it. It's so much. It's more than you. And then like you have to like go ahead and get in there. It's a psychological thing. It is actually kind of funny how it works like that.
Yeah, so but no, I have a lot of respect for like poker players. I remember when online poker started, and I remember when online poker ended because of regulation. I remember those days well. That was like right there. I think that's when I kind of stopped playing. I mean, I was playing in person, then I started playing online, and when online poker got banned, I kind of stopped playing. I didn't really look into these, alternative ways and VPNs and all this stuff to keep going. I kind of said, yeah, I don't know. I don't really care anymore. It kind of died out.
Yeah, it's tough because so the day is called Black Friday, and it was the day where the DOJ decided to actually enact the UIGEA, which was the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act or whatever. But they actually decided to enforce it and like confiscate hundreds of millions of dollars. And they did to like the 3 major companies, and then all the other companies were like, "Oh, we're not going to do this anymore." So just overnight, online poker in America died, and it's kind of crazy because if you look at a map of the world and the countries that don't allow internet poker, it's like the U.S., Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia. We're in really good a lot of like first world free countries that don't allow poker, Tone. So yeah, that sucked, man. That really sucked for all poker players.
When did it open back up officially?
Okay, well, it's like kind of confusing because
exactly. Well, like I don't remember like anything. It was like such a gradual thing where they almost gave up and they didn't want to look stupid and announce it.
Well, so what they did, they allow it at the state level if it's regulated by the states. So like certain states have approved it, and they like I think Pennsylvania did recently, but they're still enacting it. New Jersey, Delaware, and Nevada are the only ones that officially allow it. But yeah, man, it's like bullshit. I mean, the government's just a bunch of bullshit. They enact random laws all the goddamn time because like it's in someone's interest. Happens nonstop.
Yeah. Hey, let's stick to the poker thing because I'm really curious. How do you know that like the game you're in isn't rigged online?
All right, so
I'm sure it's a common question, right?
This actually coincides nicely with crypto because there's a lot of overlap with because we've seen more and more sites launching based around Bitcoin or their own currency or whatever, and that's a question that gets brought up commonly or something that's brought up commonly is how do I know my game is fair? And in order to run a poker site, you have to have licensing, and the licensing costs a lot of money in order to get licensed in all these different countries. So for a medium to large sized company to get a license and then decide that they're going to like work in some stuff to try and screw you over and make certain players win, they risk their entire business model for what? So that a couple guys can cheat you out of money. They're making millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. There's no incentive for them to do that given how much they've paid to get there. So on a really small site that's not regulated and it's like actually like illegal, sure, that could be going on. I'm sure that it has gone on very small sites, but that's why you want to play on bigger sites where you know that you're getting a fair shake of things. And I'm not saying like the biggest site necessarily, but anything top 20, 30, 40 is generally going to be a pretty fair site.
So now that we're talking about regulation, right? So who is the regulator here?
Well, it depends on the country. So obviously, where you're based out of, that jurisdiction is going to have the most legality as far as how you can operate legally. And then most countries have certain laws that you have to, or certain licenses that you have to get in order to be allowed to serve that region. So I would say it varies on a case by case basis. Some countries are much more strict than others. It's based on each country.
So because this actually goes well for crypto, all these people are yelling at me. So do you think that the gambling community would be able to regulate itself if the government was not involved in any way?
Well, it's tough, man. And this is like a difficult question overall. So in general, I would say, man, like I have some libertarian views, and then there are definitely spots where I think the government needs to step in. And so it's always a question of where do we find that line? The problem with gambling is that a lot of the revenue from gambling comes from problem gamblers that they just can't stop gambling or they have a problem. So like some checks and balances to help protect people from, maybe predatory practices, I do think goes a ways in terms of helping people. But could it regulate itself? I kind of lean towards yes.
Well, I'm actually not talking about that part, even though it's funny. Like I am an advocate of the stupid addictive people that are investing in ICOs that the government should probably protect. When it comes to poker, I honestly don't care about the degenerate gambler. When it comes to poker, I'm more curious regulation in terms of making the games fair, not the unfair practices of enticing players.
Oh, I see.
Or like, let's talk about regulation on, do you think without government, do you think that there would be this like trusted body that, hey, this online slot machine is actually fair and I can actually win, or, blackjack against the computer on your poker site, on your gambling site is fair, that you actually have a chance to win through random number generators, which may or may not even exist. I'm still like, I don't know. That's still.
I guess I would lean towards, I think that it would on average be fair. It would probably be a little less so than it is today because you would have people trying to rig it so that they make more money. But I would think that the sites that are more fair would kind of rise to the top and would become the larger players. So would it eventually regulate itself? I would say probably. But
that will probably take a long amount of time and a lot of screaming people with pitchforks.
Why is it with screaming? Oh, I see. At least it's screening. Yes, yes. But you know what, Tone? Here's the thing. People do that anyway, man. People are outrageous. There are people who like will play on some of the biggest sites in the world and they'll be like, oh, they knew that I had kings and they made the ace cub. And it's just like, dude, like what? Like, come on, man. Just calm down. Calm down here. You're getting a little crazy. People are crazy.
Right.
Look at the chat. Look at these people. Look at these people in the chat.
Yeah,
these guys are nuts. Like, oh my, I mean, I wouldn't want to be there. I mean, that's fine for you guys, but that's my example, right? Like, people are nuts.
Right. Well, hey, this is my third live stream of the day, and I have 1,100 viewers, man. You want to talk about addictions? You want to talk about government coming in to regulate me, like so people can get back to work and get back to their lives? This is like the third stream I'm doing, and each one had over 1,000 viewers.
That's sick, man. That's sick.
All right. So sticking with, I guess, regulation slightly. Actually, no, I already kind of forgot my question on that. Yeah.
Let's talk about your general take on just the market overall right now and kind of the community as well. I think those are pretty good topics.
Oh, sure.
It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me to see how the community has changed in some regards. One of the things that I saw when I kind of moved over from poker to doing videos in cryptocurrency, which by the way was only like 6 months ago. It feels.
Yeah, I was about to ask you when was that. So that was like right near the height of the prices.
Right. You could say I caused the crash if you want to. But it's just crazy to see what the general attitude of the community has been, because poker has a generally more pessimistic community overall. I would say there are definitely some good people in poker, but people are bitter and there are a lot of people who have lost money. But in crypto, when I got in December, January, nobody had lost money. If you had bought anything at any point and held, you were up. Everyone was up. And now I'm seeing a little bit of of negativity kind of crawling in. We got some people that are like, oh, it's just all worth nothing. It's going to zero.
Yeah, and here's the unfortunate part, because you're only seeing a little bit and it's not all around you. It probably means we're going to be going down a little bit extra. Like people have to start quitting. Like I'm actually like back in 2015 bear market towards the end, some prominent people like rage quit, like Mike Hearn and some of the other ones. This time around, I'm actually waiting for some prominent VCs, like those VCs that used to go on TV talking about how Bitcoin is going to like $100,000, $200,000. And one of the lawyers I had on the show, he's like, yeah, it sounds really cool when some really rich guy or some VC that's managing money for rich people goes on TV, Bitcoin is worth 16,000, and he's talking about how it's going to the moon. He doesn't realize that some person at home just bought a bunch of Bitcoin leveraging his credit card. And that guy is gonna, get frustrated, get liquidated, and it doesn't really help.
Well, it doesn't help if it gets liquidated, that's for sure. But, it's tough because, and this is always in my opinion, Tone, there's some guy in the chat that's just like yelling at me that I lied that I got into Bitcoin in 2013. It's not a lie, bro. It's not a lie. I got in 2013. I got in to try and invest in some of the dice sites and to play poker and have liquidity. Now, I'm not one of those guys that got in and bought a shitload and held the whole way through. I've sold as it's increased in value. So I've always had a pretty reasonable approach with it. But here's the thing. I don't really care too much about the day-to-day happenings of Bitcoin. I know that's a great thing to say when you come onto someone's channel who day trades or talks about trading. But here's my reason, Tone. Here's my reason. I think we agree on this. I just think long run Bitcoin will win. Or I guess really the way that I would phrase it is I think long run cryptocurrency is going to win. And at least at this point, it seems most likely the store value will be based around Bitcoin. It's hard to really know the way that things will be shaped and changed in the future. But Bitcoin is certainly the most dominant player today. And so I want to be a part of that. And I think that because long-term it will succeed, that I'm not really too worried about what's happening one day to the next. Now, there are people that take that to an irrational level where they're like, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, no matter what. And that's obviously kind of foolish too. But saying to the guy at home, I think that this is one day going to be worth a lot. I still think that that's okay. It's their own fault if they decide I'm going to leverage the house and put in a 20x or 50x leverage on Bitcoin.
Right. No,
that's their issue, right?
Right. No, I agree with that. And I'm with you. Like, look, the only reason why I care about the day-to-day price moves of Bitcoin is because it's like almost my job to put out videos, right? Like if I wasn't putting out videos talking about the price of Bitcoin, I wouldn't care either. And people underestimate how often I go from video to video without looking at the price of Bitcoin. Like sometimes, I did a video. There was a day that I did a video, and then the next time I looked at the price of Bitcoin, it was like 30 minutes before doing another video 24 hours later. So, and if it wasn't for that, like because I stopped doing videos on the stock market, I kind of almost forget what the hell is going on over there. Because there's only so much time in a day.
And by the way, I think it's awesome, like the community that you've built here and what you're putting out in this channel. You know, it definitely serves like a section of the cryptocurrency community that can't get that information elsewhere. I think you have a generally level-headed and an approach to it, which is honest. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, earlier when we were talking about the prices, like, look, you'll remember I called this and I called this. Okay, I might have been wrong here, but like this is what happened. This is what my thoughts were. And I think that honesty is something that really translates well to the viewers, because you want to see someone that's like, you know, if you're going to talk about price, you're going to talk about where you think things are going, then you have to also be able to kind of own the mistakes as well as embrace the victories like the one that you had today.
Right. No, absolutely. I'm actually not like again, look, price of Bitcoin is going down, right? Like people think that I'm kind of happy about it. I'm not, because I'm fairly heavily invested in Bitcoin, and I'm staying with it. And this is another reason why I'm able to talk about the bear market of Bitcoin, because I'm just trying to guide people in understanding that this is a bear market and it's going to recover. It's going to recover. I don't know when it's going to recover. I don't know what price it's going to recover, but I'm staying with my followers and trying to guide them through the bear market. And hey, I'm losing money every day. The price is now $6,058. I think we're already starting to drop, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be closing under 6,000 on a daily basis, either in the next 24 hours or in the next 48 hours. I really think that we're just going down. It just got overvalued. And I know people were getting upset at me when I was saying that. And one of my tipping points was when the spam stopped around November, all that spam stopped, and Bitcoin price was still skyrocketing above $10,000, but the blocks were now empty. I know like the Bcash supporters and all these big blockers are talking about how, well, Bitcoin screwed up, their fees are too high, it's too slow, that's why no one uses it.
Those things are wrong now. It is so.
I know.
When I sent you the Bitcoin, it was like, I mean, it was free, Tone. It was practically free.
I know.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And what happened was when Bitcoin was rising in November and December, the spam had stopped and the blocks were already empty. And I said, holy shit. I said, this means that there was a lot less activity going on in Bitcoin than even I thought it was. When the spam completely stopped and there were hardly any Bitcoin transactions, it wasn't because the fees got too high and people stopped using it. Not at all. The poker sites continued to use it then. They still use it now, right? Nothing has changed. More people are coming on the system, but it told me that Bitcoin isn't very useful. No one is really using it. And I was telling people this in November, December, saying, hey, this worries me. The blocks are empty. Blocks are empty. This worries me. It tells me that there's no way in hell Bitcoin should be worth that much.
I thought that the spam attacks stopped a little bit later. I thought that it happened in more January, February. I actually think it happened after the crash.
No, it definitely stopped before the crash, because I remember the price was going up, or it might have been after the crash, but the price was still 14, 15,000. For some reason I thought it stopped before the crash, but I did so many videos where I was talking about how, wow, if there's so little activity in Bitcoin, there's no way it is worthy of such a high valuation, and we're still paying for that. So we'll get through it. Altcoins are getting beaten up as well, and I'm still waiting for that blanket regulation. on the ICOs the way we kind of have blanket regulation on gambling websites. I just don't see why the same rules shouldn't apply where, it's not really a level playing field when one company has to go and get VC funding. I don't know if you ever tried getting VC funding. It's not easy and it's not simple. And then another company just gets to print their own securities without any regulation.
Yeah.
So I don't consider that an even playing field at all. Either everyone is going to start printing their own ICOs and then everyone will have their own money, or the regulation on how you can fund your idea are going to come back to reality.
That's a very fair take. And that's actually, so it's funny because I agree with you, but my personal opinion is that everything should be a little less regulated in this area specifically, because I think it is bullshit, Tone, that the US government can say to you, oh, you can't invest in this because you're too poor, because you're too stupid to choose like what would be a good investment or a scam. So because you're too poor, you can't buy this. And you have to be an accredited investor or a qualified investor for all these opportunities. So it's like, oh, okay, so only people that have a lot of money are able to make these investments? That seems totally ridiculous to me. And I think people should have more freedom with their money. Or do you disagree, Tone? Do you disagree?
I actually have to disagree. And that's because
the libertarians are going to be mad, by the way.
No, they know I disagree on this particular issue, right? Because you're looking at it from the government is regulating the little investor. The government is not regulating the little investor. The government is regulating the guy soliciting the little investor, right? Like if you really want to invest in a crazy idea, I'm sure you got an uncle or a cousin out there somewhere that is always asking you for money for their dumb idea. His dumb idea isn't all that much different than the ICOs you're currently investing in. It's just that you personally know your cousin's idea is stupid and you think the guy, in the group chat of Telegram is somehow smarter than that cousin of yours, when in reality he isn't. Like you have plenty of opportunities to get solicited for money from people that you actually know. And I do think that there needs to be regulation on that solicitation of money by people that you don't know.
Okay, well, the solicitation makes sense, and we do have regulation on that.
We do, but it doesn't seem to apply in the ICO space.
And for what it's worth, Tone, one of the only ways I've been making money in this space for the last several months has been ICOs. So don't you talk bad about my ICOs to me here.
How are they doing the last 3 months?
Great, man.
Really?
Yeah, if you buy pre-sale and then they go public, you make it.
How are you able to buy them in pre-sale? Because that is becoming such a niche closed circle that it's probably more exclusive than the traditional VC space.
No, yeah, that's true. I mean, you have to either know people or have value or be somebody but this is what I'm saying. It's not a level playing field for everybody.
Exactly, right? So by the time the mom and pop get into it, they're screwed. They're buying it from guys like you, right? Now you are able to have the connection.
I don't know if I like the way that you're phrasing that. Doug Polk, scamming your mom and dad. It's just like
all right, well, let's talk about that, right? Like so you're going into a pre-ICO. I don't know if you want to name names. I don't know if you want to give me an ICO token. I can glance at its price. I don't know like how much you want to dox yourself, but if there is some public information on you getting in and out of an ICO, I would love to pull up a chart, take a look at what day you got in, when you got out.
So, I mean, I've been involved in a lot of them. It's like a longer list. In general, I'm not going to try and get into just like talking about all of the ones that I've bought and sold because I feel like people are going to call me a shill or whatever.
Well, I'd like to explore one.
You'd like to explore one ICO
that you got in early, and then do you still have any? What percentage do you still have?
Right.
When did you get out? Why did you get out? And why did
you? So in general, I have a pretty mixed strategy, right? I've got some that I believe long-term and I'm buying and holding more of them. I've got some that I completely flipped. I've got some where I'm free rolling the profit. It's been a mixture of all kinds of different strategies. And then I've had some, honestly, the one that I fired the biggest on, Tone, the one I fired the absolute biggest on, I have gotten just demolished. And if we've got some of my fans here from the chat, I'm sure you guys would know what I'm talking about. But I bought a rather large portion of one called BitClave, and it is not doing so hot overall. If we want to pull up the bit.
I can try and pull up a chart if one exists.
If you even have it, yeah, I'm not sure what you have.
Let me make another copy.
Go for it.
Do you know the ticker by any chance?
The ticker CAT, but there's a couple CATs, so you have to make sure you have the right one.
Great. All right, let me do screen share and we'll take a look. I'm more curious in the one that actually worked out well for you. So this is still Riot. Hold on. CAT, cryptocurrencies, and there's nothing there.
All right.
What's the name of it?
It's called BitClave, BITCLAVE.
No. Too small.
I mean, like a lot of these are going to be on the smaller side. Another one that I recently invested in is Open Platform.
Nope.
I mean, like, if you're not going to have those, I mean, like, it's going to be a long. What about Wax? Do you have Wax in here? Some of you guys might know what Wax is.
Hey, yeah, there it is.
Wax. Nice. All right.
All right, let's take a look at this. It's on Bitfinex? That doesn't sound right.
But it's also on Bittrex, so we could at least pull that up.
Worldwide Asset Exchange?
I should know what Wax means.
I don't think this is it. Well, do you remember the highest dollar price?
Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up and take a look at it, and I can tell you if it's it or not.
Versus dollars or versus Bitcoin?
Let's do versus dollars.
10 cents. Weekly chart. That's a weekly chart. So it's been around since April.
That
sounds about right.
No, that actually sounds not right. It's been around since January. But this actually
no, it might have been on Bitfinex since April. Maybe I should.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this looks right.
Grab a more liquid exchange. So it would be on Bittrex. It probably would have been there forever. It would have been there versus Bitcoin. Nope, still versus April. Still from April. See, you might have got in back in January, but it didn't start trading until.
I mean, a ton of the value is in pre-sale, though, Tone.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Value. I'm arguing that it's not fair that people can't get in pre-sale a lot of time because of who they are, where they are, how much money they have, or whatever. And I think that having less regulation on that front would probably be a good thing. That's my position. People still have to be careful. I mean, look, like this is the crazy goddamn Wild West. Like if you're not ready to lose a lot of money, like I did on BitClave, fingers crossed one day we'll see the light. But if you're not ready to lose a lot of money, then don't do it. I mean, these are risky. And like, that's like the main takeaway. Can they be valuable though? Yeah. And there's also like, here's the other thing, Tone. I feel like there are a lot of Bitcoin purists that say that like, oh, like all these are scams or whatever. And I'm not saying that there aren't tons of scams. There are tons of scams. But like Ethereum had an ICO. It's the second biggest currency. EOS had an ICO. It's the fifth big. Like there are going to be more and more success stories too. But you're going to have to be, smart with what you pick. Find ones that are actually trying to do something that's not just like complete bullshit.
Okay. So how about this, right? So if Ethereum pulls out of the top 10, would it still be a success?
Absolutely. Dude, Ethereum's trading at like what 1,000x what it sold for in pre-sale. Well, I think it's 1,000x. I think it's 1,000x. If it goes down to 300x, would you call that a success? Yeah, I would. I mean, Bitcoin went from 20,000 down to 6,000. I'd still call Bitcoin a success.
Well, I'm looking at this thing, Wax. So Wax is down 90% since it started trading. Now, it started trading at $1. You bought the pre-ICO. Do you remember the price of this token at the pre-ICO price?
No, I don't remember actually, but
Okay. Maybe can
it's
we
also worth noting here too that this is a very limited scope because this is not the entire trade history for Wax. This is the trade history according to this individual exchange, and it's been trading since January. So there's been more at play here than just this graph.
well, right, but like this is um this is where it became most liquid, right? Because I can see this like in 1 week, the price fell from $1 down to 16 cents, right? That's I actually let me go to the daily chart. Let me see if that happened all in one day. Um, right, it did happen all in one day, right? So this
But
tells me
Toad, this is on April 7th. And it
yes.
began trading on at least one major exchange in January. So this is a limited scope of the total trading. That's an important point. So
But
like
no, but the important thing is that on one day this thing fell 85%. That eh, that's not normal,
no, that's
right?
that's not what happened here. This is what happened on this graph. It got listed on this exchange, the first liquid tokens, because there was a lot of buy side demand and no sell side demand, pushed the price up to being extremely high. That was not correct compared to the other exchanges, which were trading much lower. And then it normalized to the other exchanges at the value that it was already trading at. It's not like this thing was $1 and everyone was buying and selling $1, and then all of a sudden it was worth 10 cents. It wasn't at the rate that it was trading at on the exchanges that it was already listed, and there were people arbitraging. That's just like the classic play here.
I don't know. Oh, here is May 16th on BitDom in Korea. And it looks like every time this thing shows up at an exchange of a certain country, there is a lot of people that were able to get in because of special privileges, because they knew someone and were able to get on the pre-ICO. They got very quick liquidation. Now, in the traditional VC world, when you invest in a pre-IPO company, you're usually stuck with that company for years and years until that company eventually has some kind of revenue. They eventually have clients. They eventually have a business. And then when they go public for anyone to purchase, the company is already established. These things, they basically go public as soon as they can because those early investors, they have about a 3-month, wait time before they want to sell this thing and take their profit. Like this whole concept of the pre-ICO ICO to me is 100 times sleazier than the traditional finance IPO structure. And
I actually don't agree with you because there can be several different reasons that it makes sense. The first can be finding strategic partners in the space that can help them either get listings or whatever else can bring value, developers, whatever value someone might be able to bring. That does help the project. So it does make sense for them to find people that actually can contribute rather than just taking on random blanket money. And then second off, the person coming in at pre-sale is taking in a more inherent risk than the person buying once it's already trading. When it's already trading, you know where the market's at, you know what its value is. It's less risky. It's less upside, but it's less risky. Regardless, my viewpoint is that there should be less regulation on what poor people are able to do in these spots, and they should have more ability to decide for themselves. That's my only real point.
okay, so out of your last 10 ICOs, can you describe the idea of these companies? What do they do, and why do they need a token? Pick, I don't know, give me 3.
You're really
20.
You're really putting me on the spot here, Toad. Look, man, I don't really want to get too heavily into a lot of this. You're definitely searching for some details and some all the inner workings. I see how this is going right now. And don't get me wrong, man. Like there are plenty of projects that absolutely don't need tokens. I'm not saying that they all do. There are so many money grabs or ones that don't make sense out there. The main things to take away here are there are smart, hardworking people in the world trying to create value. And I believe in that. I believe in trying to find places to put money that do make money that makes money long run, because it creates value. Not everything is a scam, right?
No, but ICOs are like, yes,
No, not every ICO is a scam.
Yes, every ICO is a scam. Is Ethereum an ICO? Yes or no?
What do you mean? Is the theory of an ICO that it's a scam?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
it's not a scam.
Ethereum has always been a scam. I called it a scam during its ICO stage.
Ethereum is not a scam. It's not a scam, Toad. It's the second biggest currency. It allows decentralized applications to run on it. It's opened the door for many beautiful actual scams.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, we agree there. All right. Hey, so it's so you just transitioned us into our next topic. Ethereum is creating a platform to build these beautiful decentralized applications. So which decentralized applications are you most looking forward to for the future of our children?
I mean, I think that there's no way you can even argue with this, but the future of the world,
trust me, I can.
The future of the world are virtual kittens. And you either get on board or you don't. That's it. There's no other choice. I'm on board. Are you guys? Hey, you guys, if you're on board in the chat, slap a thumbs up on the video to show your support for crypto. Or wait, what the hell is the kittens thing?
Crypto kitties. Yeah, do you have any?
Crypto kitties.
Do you have any yet?
1 like equals 1 saved kitty. Let's get this guy going.
All right, no, I'm serious though. Like what decentralized applications are you looking forward to? Like conceptually, right? Like, do you want to see a decentralized Uber? Do you want to see a decentralized Airbnb? Like, what is it in our like daily life that you feel we need decentralized?
I'm actually going to go a different direction with my answer to that question, which is I think that anyone who's really excited about some aspect of it at this stage is kind of an idiot, because so few have actually been developed at all, and we know so little about where it's going, that unless you're someone who's like actively developing in the space, how can you really answer that question and not just be an idiot? Like you don't know what applications are going to be decentralized.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the technical elements, even though they're massive. I'm just talking about like conceptually. Like I really like Airbnb. I really like Uber, right? Like I don't think a decentralized version of those companies is going to compete in places where these companies are legal. Like a decentralized Uber will be great in Paris because I believe Uber is illegal in Paris, right? So obviously a decentralized version is your only option. But in places where it's legal, and even something like Steemit, for example, right? Do you post on Steemit? Are you familiar with Steemit?
Yeah, I post my videos on Steemit.
Right. So what is so you like Steemit?
Yeah, I like it.
Why?
I mean, well, so the reason that I like Steemit is that there's a community that exists there, frankly. I think the platform itself still does need some work. The upvoting system is like pretty cool. It's like sort of Reddit-ish. But, you know, I honestly, as a creator, as someone who's putting out content, it's, you know, it's kind of my goal to find where these communities exist that would enjoy my content or enjoy what I'm putting out. And so I try to be the places that they are. I try to find where people are that would like to see what I have to offer, or what videos, you know, topics I'm going to discuss. So that's the main reason that I like it. What about you?
Oh no, I hate the day I heard about Steemit.
Is it a scam too?
Oh, it's a total scam. The day I heard, actually, if you Google Steemit and the word scam, if my name is not all over the first page of Google, I did not do a good job a year and a half ago.
Steemit scam. Not in the first link, not in the second link, not in the third link, but you are the fourth link, Tone.
Well, I haven't, but I remember the last time.
You gotta catch up. They're catching up, Tone.
Well, but that's the thing, right? I'm still the fourth link. I stopped talking about Steemit a year ago, and I'm still the fourth link. I only talked about Steemit its first 3 months of existence. I didn't talk about it after that. I kind of gave up. It was tiring. If you go to videos, you'll probably find a lot. So I was a huge critic of Steemit from day one because first of all, they're not decentralized at all. There's no decentralization there, right? It's a centralized website that stores your content, right? Like you can't decentralize an article. You can't decentralize a YouTube video. It is being displayed through a server owned by the creators of Steemit. Now, the voting system, as you mentioned, so on Reddit, anyone can join Reddit, and then anyone can upvote on Reddit. And as far as I know, each person's upvote counts as one. They're equally weighted, whether you've been on Reddit 10 years or whether you've been on Reddit 10 days. Now, what Steemit does is it weights your voting based on how much Steemit tokens or dollars or one of their three currencies that you have. So at one point when I was talking critical about Steemit, 30 people had complete control over who is being displayed on the first page of Steemit and who isn't. So like the top 3 or 4 Steam holders had basically, if one of them upvotes you, you go to first page. If one of them downvotes you, no one will ever see your content. Okay. So I always felt that Steemit was the most censored website on the internet, not the most free one.
Well, so saying the most censored website is a weird sentence because there are many sites where you have no control, and this one you have a small amount. So I would never say
for content displaying purposes.
Maybe you mean like it's the most censored for community discussion, right? That could be what you're saying.
Sure.
I think we're coming at it from different viewpoints. Like I'm coming at it from like as a creator, like as someone that makes content, I want to find where people are so that they can view my content, right? That's like my goal is to be able to create good content for people that they'll enjoy and find them. So I like the platform from that perspective. As an investment, I'm not saying that I'm a big Steemit fan, or as like in terms of like the purity of how decentralized the platform is, I'm not saying that I'm a Steemit fan. But I also don't think okay, so let's talk about just decentralization in general just for a moment, because there are some things that are much more important to be decentralized than others. And I don't think that how high ranking on like a forum, how decentralized that process is nearly as important as how decentralized a store of value is. Like, for example, Bitcoin. If Bitcoin had that degree of centralization, it would be terrible, right? We can't have people with that much power. But when it's a community forum, is it the same thing? Is it the same degree of bad? I'm inclined to say no. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's pretty bad because they advertise as this decentralized blockchain initiative, and they're not. They're totally centralized. So I think there is lots of false advertising there. And another thing I haven't mentioned yet is like the way Steemit gets people to write on Steemit instead of Reddit or their own website is because they pay them in their own currency that they create, and they keep the majority of that currency. So the people that are most heavily invested in Steem dollars or Steem tokens, like they convoluted the system so much that it's hard to even describe it. Now, I read every single syllable of that white paper, and I recreated the 44-page document of their white paper, and I literally critiqued every single page, highlighting crazy parts all over it. There's a PDF on my website that details all of their insanity in their white paper. And they're basically creating their own currency and bribing people in their currency to write on the website, paying them in that currency. And I don't know what the end goal here is, to have Steemit as the currency of the world. Like sooner or later, people are going to realize that this currency is just an internal monopoly money that has no external value.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with incentivizing users to use your platform by paying them in the currency of the site? I don't understand.
Because you're printing that money out of thin air, right? So what are you paying them with, right? Like imagine if you started a business and you were paying your employees in dog dollars.
Wait, you're not supposed to do that?
I don't know. Are you doing that? That's what I did.
Oh, the team's going to be mad, Tone.
Yeah.
They told me that they loved them. We called them Binks Bucks, actually, after my dog, Binks Bucks.
Right. That's pretty much what they're doing, but they're doing it under this, blockchain banner. And that's all it is. It's just, a couple of guys in a garage trying to convince people that they want to pay them in their own printed currency out of their garage that has no decentralization whatsoever.
But here's the thing, man. Like, I understand that you believe in a lot of like the fundamental value properties of Bitcoin, right? And I understand where you're coming from with that. But my take on this is actually a little bit different. It's that there are many different cryptocurrency projects being worked on across the board. And as long as someone's intent is to try and create something of value, and in this case, it is a forum for people to have discussion, I'm okay with them creating their own currency and doing what they want with it. I'm fine with that. Doesn't mean you have to buy into it, but we should encourage people to try and take a swing at these projects because it increases the chance that we find actually good utility, using cryptocurrency. But then it also gets people involved because they might find a community that they like or something that they enjoy or something that they believe in. We want more people. We want to be inclusive, not exclusive. The place that we need to stop is if people are getting outright scammed, if they're being lied to, if they're, and I mean lied to be like have their money be extracted. I don't mean lied to like they say they're decentralized, but like
right. Well, that's how I feel about Steemit, right? They're extracting your Bitcoin because when they print Steem tokens out of thin air and give them to their content creators, these tokens are worth something. They're worth something because someone on the other end is buying them for speculation or in order to, they think they'll have a better say in upvoting articles, which they don't. They're so far behind the ball of the early adopters, they're totally useless. So somebody is lying to somebody to purchase these tokens on the open market.
Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be someone lying to somebody. People can purchase something knowing fully well what it is. I mean, when Bitcoin started, people thought buying Bitcoin was pretty stupid. People did. They thought Bitcoin was pretty stupid. A bunch of nerds on their computers trading goddamn digital dollars. And now it doesn't seem so stupid.
Yeah, no, but I completely agree with that. But I think that's a bad example, right? I mean, to me, the way this is well, Zuckerberg was a college dropout, and Bill Gates was a college dropout, and what's his name? Steve Jobs was a college dropout, and they became billionaires. Therefore, if I am a college dropout, I also deserve to be a billionaire like them, right? Like, it doesn't really work backward.
Well, but okay, so I understand your example, and it has merit. But we're not talking about the people in this instance. We're talking about the product. We're talking about, to go to your example, Microsoft and Apple. We're talking about like the products. And so I'm okay with an ecosystem where people can create what they want and try and promote it and try and explain why it has value. And if people decide they believe in it, I think it's fine if they want to buy into that. I don't see what's fundamentally wrong with that.
I mean, I do, because like when enough smart people are telling you that this is nonsense, but you still think that because you missed out on Bitcoin, you're gonna catch another lottery ticket. I just think like the bigger this bubble grows, the worse it's going to get in the ICO space. And people right now are upset at me because I've been saying that, you know what, 7,500 on the price of Bitcoin last year, that's what I thought a reasonable top would be. I really thought that we would, crash from 7,500 down to 5,000 or 4,000, maybe 1,300, and then we'd stabilize and people wouldn't go nuts. But when the price of Bitcoin went, then it fell from 7,500 to only 5,400, which bothers me to this day. And it went all the way to 20,000. That's the bubble. And now people are upset that it's falling so much. Like, the bottom in Bitcoin was always going to be the same. The reason why you feel so much pain is because idiots bid it all the way up to 20,000. And I don't see this ICO bubble slowly going away. I see it just getting worse and worse and worse. And therefore, the pain is going to be a lot worse when it's all said and done. And I'm just trying to, prevent people to get out of this insanity now because if you weren't involved in trading the dot-coms in 1998 to 2000, the NASDAQ crash did not affect you. I was in college. It didn't affect me at all. I graduated in 2002, and it was pretty much over.
Well, so I do think that the overall ICO market is in decline, primarily because the total market is in such a huge decline. But putting that to the side for a moment, I mean, you can't be upset if people are mad at you for saying what your analysis has led you to believe. I mean, fuck them if they get mad at you.
I'm not upset. I'm not upset at that at all. Like, these people, I know they're only lashing out at me. They're upset at the fact that they probably lost money, and they're blaming me because they think if I start saying that Bitcoin price if I think it's going to go up, it's actually going to go up. I have no control of that, right? Like, I know a lot of these people are just lashing out because either they have bad positions or they lost a lot of money. But the reason why that happened is because they bought into the unsustainable price rise.
So something that I've seen a lot of, and this is as like a newer guy into like the content side of things. Like I've been in crypto for a bit, but I haven't made videos until like last 6 months. And I've had a lot of good conversations with people who have been around a lot longer. And I had a conversation with Charlie on my podcast where, like, you could tell that like he was a little distraught because like people just get so mad at him for like anything that he does, and he's just like, I'm just trying to do the right thing, and like this is like what's happening to me. And I don't know, maybe it's just because like, I guess maybe I'm not jaded by the world yet, or jaded by this space anyway, where like if people want to get pissed off because they lost money, as long as you're fair and you like give them, you say like, look, like this is like what I think. Obviously you can lose money. These are my thoughts, and you share what your thoughts and your worldview is. If people want to get upset at you because like it lost them money, like fuck them. Like, you're putting out all this content for free to try and help people and give
no, I'm not gonna.
Like,
I
guess I just always feel like people are so jaded with like when it comes to these topics because of like the community backlash, and that's just part of the gig.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there. I just want to address somebody's comment in the chat. When we were talking about Steemit, and I was saying they're printing Steem money to pay you, someone asked a sarcastic question. Well, what is Facebook paying you, right, for posting your content there? And my answer to that is, well, they're not paying me anything for posting my content there. But if I want to profit from everybody posting their content on Facebook, I can go and buy their stock, which has gone up from $20 a share right after the IPO all the way to $200 a share for a 10x valuation. So the more money Facebook makes off of people's content, the more revenue the company makes, the higher their stock. So no one stops you from buying Facebook stock the moment you put content there. And now you're legally, you can legally profit from all of your content, right? So I hate the Facebook example because Facebook is a public company. You can profit from them.
Right. Well, so I think it all comes down to value. Like as a content creator, it all comes down to value proposition. And so there are trade-offs, right? And there's trade-offs on, do I get paid? How many people see it? What kind of content can I put there? What's the community like there? There's a lot of trade-offs kind of across the board. I mean, one of the reasons, the main reason I'm on YouTube is because the most people are on YouTube. It's the biggest platform. If you want to try and hit the most people, it's the place to go. And like for me specifically, I care more about like growth and like reaching people and trying to actually get viewers than I care about like, where do I make the most money for posting my content, right? But I don't think that it matters too much if Facebook's paying you or not. You can post there if you want to post there. That's like really the bottom line.
Yeah. No. Oh, and by the way, if you still have the Google search for for Steemit and scam, that first link that shows up, the ugly truth behind Steemit?
Is that you?
That's not me, but it references my work. So if you click on that, and scroll down, you will see like my work there and my tweets there near the end that the person referenced.
So your main takeaway from the stream today, or for the viewer, is Tone really wants you to know that he was in ground floor on calling Steam a scam. Just to set the record straight, Tone.
Yes.
Let the people know you were ground floor.
Oh no, I was certainly that. All right. So what else can we talk about? Let's glance at the price of Bitcoin. It bounced back a little bit. Let me do a 2-minute screen share here. This is the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. The current 4 hours that started 40 minutes ago fell as low as 6,026. We slightly bounced back. I am looking for, another 12 hours of downside followed by a minor relief rally. I'm still sticking with these arrows that I drew 3 or 4 days ago. I don't see anything here longer term. I'm still looking for my $5,000 target in early July. So the first week or two of July is when I'm looking for that. And since we do have 1,100 people, I will be in New Haven, Connecticut tomorrow doing a trading Bitcoin live. So if you are in Connecticut, please RSVP and come down. All right, Doug, we're coming up on like an hour and a half. This is, or 4.5 hours of me live streaming today. Any other topics we want to talk about? Throw something at me.
I think we've managed to hit most of them, man. I think this is a good length of time for me personally. But I want to say that it was a fun bet. I hope it went on a little bit longer. I was hoping for a little more of a sweat. But you know what? It is what it is. And you know what? Let's hope that it comes back, man, because I lost way more on the way down than I did from the bet. So
God, I wish I never won this bet. I really wish I never won this bet. Yeah, I was gonna if we did the stream, a few days ago, the moment it happened, like I actually didn't see your tweet at first. I mean, by the way, I really regretted making that bet the day I won, because I was like driving from Montreal or something, or to Montreal, and I'm like trying to use my GPS. And I got like between 800 and 1,000 messages that day. And
I'm so sorry.
Up on my phone.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine, Tone. I'm sorry.
I know.
You know what? Well, how about this? Say you didn't win. You can send me it back. Terrible. Tone, that might be the worst first world problem I've heard in a very, very long time.
I know.
Brutal. Oh, Jack, can you imagine being Tone and winning, and you're on a drive and everyone's messaging you and you just won $10,000? Oh my, it's just brutal. It's brutal. Terrible.
I was gonna try and bait you into a double down for 5,000, but when I saw you tweet 3,000, I'm like, no, that's never gonna happen.
No shot. I'm not doing 5K. That would be.
Yeah, I'm actually like 90% certain we're gonna go under 5K. As far as going under 4K, I'm only like 60% certain, and going under 3K is less than that, right? At the moment, going under 3K, I'm pretty much 50-50. I will reevaluate that once we get below 5. But if we don't go below 5K, I will admit I was wrong. Like I am in 90% confident. You can never be 100% confident, right? Again, even if you have pocket aces and an ace comes out, you know that, right? Like even if your odds are, 90, 95%, you can go all in. You're expected to win, but, shit happens. So nothing is 100% in the world of crypto. I'm 100% certain Ethereum's a scam, but that seems to be debatable.
That was such a ridiculous transition. That was the most ridiculous transition into Ethereum's a scam ever. Guys, nothing's 100% in crypto except Ethereum being a scam. It's just like, what?
Right.
Oh,
no, I knew you'd like that one.
That cracks me up.
But hey, man, listen, thanks for being a good sport. Thanks for coming on the stream.
Oh, yeah, no sweat.
I'd also admit, people pointed out, I tried to weasel out of that bet as much as I could. And I did. I mean, you really put me on the spot there. You did. I tried to weasel out of it. I couldn't. Hey, Hey, I mean, thanks. It's all right. You and I will play poker one of these days. So it'll be you'll have a chance. Not there's no way I'm gonna bet all of it back, but I do want to sit at a table with you and like talk shit like this. Maybe get a few more Bitcoiners, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, let's do it, man. When you come out in August, let's meet up.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, guys. Hey, thanks so much for watching. This was a special edition of Trading Bitcoin. I covered some charts. There was some in the beginning. I did a little bit towards the end here. We're not looking too good, so be careful with your bullish trades over the next 24 to 48 hours. Still looking for that $5,000 low in early July, followed by a decent bounce. But until we actually see what it looks like in that vicinity of 5,000, it's impossible for me to actually predict any kind of a bounce because anything can happen. Doug, great to have you on my show again. And I don't know, maybe once a month or so. Hey, keep track of your ICOs, man. I want to talk to you on the next show. Have a couple already, man. And you may want to do a little bit of research on your next ICO that you buy as to what the hell they do and why do they need a token. Because now you have a warning, so you won't be able to get out of that discussion on our next stream.
You got it, man. And also one last thing before I go, I put a video out on the price of Bitcoin falling. I think I actually briefly mentioned our bet on it too. It's a really funny video. If you guys haven't seen it, you might want to check it out. It says Bitcoin is crashing and why it's a good thing. I think it's definitely some lulls. If you haven't seen it, Tone,
Is that on? You have like 3 different YouTube channels. Is that just on Doug Polk Crypto?
Just Doug Polk Crypto. It's the most recent one. I got it in with the meme on this is fine. I think you guys.
I will throw it in the video description. Is it? Oh wait, your videos.
It's just the top left one.
This one.
I think if you've not seen this video, I think you're going to enjoy it.
I haven't. I'm gonna go ahead and check this out myself. I will also put this video in our video description, and it should be fun. And Thursday we're gonna premiere CoinDaddy's new rap video or a story called Tone Vase Part 3. I don't know if you've seen the CoinDaddy YouTube channel.
I've not, but now I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah, check out the CoinDaddy's YouTube channel. It's hilarious. But all right, guys, thank you so much. Once again, you've been watching Tone Vase, and check me out on the audio podcast, Tone Vase Podcast, along with Jimmy Song, Leah Wald, and Giacomo Zucco. Thanks, Doug, for coming on, and we'll do it again in about a month or 2.
Sounds good, man. Thank you guys for watching.